Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and it reads like this. I was forced to fight with other people when I was arrested and I was sent to jail in South Africa. I used to be a cash in transit robber. I'm so traumatized because some of the guys that I would be forced to fight with, they would eventually die because of injuries. So when you are in prison, even if you see two people fighting to the death, you are not supposed to say anything, because if you say anything to the authorities, then it is going to be your story. You are going to be killed, and people, they are going to kill you in your sleep. So you do not report and you do not say anything. If you want to survive, you must be silent. My question to someone who is a criminal right now: will you be able to survive when they arrest you? Before you commit a crime, if you are a man, before you beat a woman or kill a woman, ask yourself this question: will I be able to survive in prison? Because prison, it is a whole new country. It has its own rules. That is what you should supposed to think about before you commit any type of a crime, because you might be forced to fight with a guy that is much stronger than you, and there is no way to escape. The only way to escape is to fighting back with a person that wants to kill you. And please, I want to tell people to stop committing crime, because you will end up in places that you do not even wish to be, locked up with hardened criminals. I am back here in Gweru. I grew up in Gweru, as you know, that it is a mining town. My father, he used to be an illegal gold miner. My father, he was feared by many, but the way that my father died, it was so sad. My father was stabbed to death by a person that most of the people considered to be a coward. My father, he was stabbed with a screwdriver whilst he was drinking his alcohol. My father would beat up a person for no reason at all, because everyone used to be afraid of him. But the same way that he used to live his life stabbing other people, that is exactly the way that my father passed away. I never had a good role model in terms of my father. My father would even abuse my mother in front of us. And my brothers, when they were grown up, they used to go and drink alcohol with our father. And when they were drinking alcohol, when they would start their stories, they would assist my father to beat up people in the shabin or wherever they would have gone to drink the alcohol. I had a brother of mine who would be arrested, and after being arrested, when he was released, he would continue doing the things that he would do. He would brag and say that he does not even have to propose to a woman. He thought that he had it in him to sleep with any woman that he wants, whether that woman wants it or not. I can say that my brother, he was one such man that was evil-hearted. He once entered into the house of this other man who was sleeping in bed with his own married wife, and my brother instructed that man to take 2 blankets, and after taking those 2 blankets, to sleep on the floor, whilst he slept with that man's wife on the bed. My father was someone that used charms. He had so many charms that he used, so that when the police were looking for him, the police, they would not find him. Or when the police were in the area, they'll just have a confusion, to be distracted, and after that they will start to ask themselves, what exactly are we doing in this location, by the way? I'm talking about even the CID, those undercover detectives. They would come to arrest my father, and he would end up drinking beer with them. And when they would have gotten drunk, he would run away from them. I was the only one that focused on school, but when you are living under those circumstances, you end up doing the things that your own father is doing because you think that it is the only way and the only right way. My father then went with me to a traditional healer. I have 10 markings on my back. These were made by a razor blade, and at each and every place where the traditional healer cut me up with a razor blade, he then put different type of charms. I have a charm. If I arrive at your house wanting to steal from you, if it is in the afternoon, maybe your neighbor can come and spend some time with you, and after that, you accompany that neighbor back to his or her house and you forget to lock your doors. In that short space of time, the moment that I walk into your house, does not matter where you will have hidden your money. I will know where your money is. I will collect the money, jewelry, and phones, and then I will run away. You won't even know what would have happened. I still remember this other day when I was in Midrand. I jumped into this other yard. The owner of that house was busy cleaning the pool. He just put those cleaning brooms onto the ground and he walked inside, I don't know, to collect what. And I was able to hide, and I went and I stood behind the house. I did not know how many people were staying in that house, but the spirit was telling me that I was going to succeed. When he left the house coming back to the pool, the door was wide open and I walked in. I heard that there was one who was speaking in another room, might be the daughter of that man. And I walked into the kitchen. I found 2 phones, and then I went into the living room. I found a laptop that was not even locked, and then I found another second laptop that was locked, but it did not have any battery, and a wallet that had cash. And then I left. When I was about to walk to the back of the house, that was when that man walked into the house again, and I jumped. He did not even know what had happened. I'm sure they found out when I had left and gotten into the getaway car. When I came to South Africa, that is what I used to do. I was in a gang. So most gangs, they love to use guys that are non-South Africans, so that if you get arrested, they know that everyone will be focusing on you and the gang. There is no one that would even think about the gang that would have looked for a place to rob. So they will just focus on the person that would have robbed. So if you are a foreigner, I am just begging you, make sure that you do not join yourself with a gang, because they are just going to use you. After they would have used you, if you are caught, they will never come back for you. In a gang, if you are a South African and then you go to a place where you are going to rob, the gang is going to wait for you. They will do whatever to make sure that you don't get caught. But if you are a foreigner, when you go inside a house, if they see any movement that they do not understand, they're going to run away. They're not going to wait for you. So this I did not even know. I was now considering myself to be a South African because I was always amongst South Africans. Listen to me, young brothers in Mzansi, especially those of you who see other big guys driving big cars, your G-Wagons, living a soft life. And you think that if you can commit crime can be a good career. I was like you. I used to be someone that was feared in Durban. Most of the people, they thought that I was Zulu, or some thought that my father was Zimbabwean and my mother was Zulu. I was there in Durban. I was someone that was feared because of the charms that I had been given by the traditional healer and my father. And I joined another gang. This time we were making money. We were doing what they call CIT heist. Those people that rob those trucks that will be having money. Back in those days, it was much easier because they did not have this technology of making the money to have a marking if you try to rob that truck, so that you can't use that money anymore. Back in our days, it was just a win. Once you be able to bomb that truck, then you win and you are gone with the money. It was different. Security was not that tight. I was living in a gated community and I had three, different identities. Every weekend, I hosted white parties at my mansion. I am talking about all white parties every weekend. Expensive beer, and we would pop champagne, throw champagne on the ground as if it was cheap water. Most beautiful women, slay queens, they would come and I would sleep with 3, 4, 5 women in one night. There were times when I would spend 100,000 just giving this money to women so that they can sleep with me. I would spend so much money on a Saturday night like it was pocket change. There was a time when I thought that I was untouchable. I thought that South African law was a joke because of the gangs that I was dealing with, the stories that they would tell me, disappearing dockets. It does happen. Even an investigating officer can be threatened. You go to the investigating officer's house, threaten the family, or you follow the children of that investigating officer wherever they go to, so as to make him uncomfortable and not to go far with the investigations. And then people think that there is corruption that has happened, but the person is also afraid of losing his or her own family. I want to tell the young men, stay away from women who do not care how you get your cash. If a woman sees you bringing in thousands of rands, but she knows that you are not going to work and she never asks you, how are you making money? Know that she is a deceiver. She is not your partner. She is a parasite. When the police come, then that woman, she is not going to wait for you to come and visit you in prison. They will run away from you and they will go to the next big blesser. And these women, when I was in prison, because I stayed in prison for 21 years, I was in a South African prison, even school, continued with my education in a South African prison. That is how long I was in prison. All those women, they were women that I bought cars for. Someone that I loved really much, even sent some women to university. There was not even a single woman that even came to me, even with a loaf of bread, to just say, thank you for being there for me when I was still struggling in varsity. They forgot about me. I sat in prison for 21 years. The things that happened in those 21 years, they are so traumatizing. When I was arrested and when the judge said 21 years, I laughed. I thought that I would be out in 5 on good behavior, as well as the way that we count years in prison. It is different. That is what I told myself. I did not know. I thought that the gang that I was working for, I was not a gangster, but I used to consult for a gang. I would be hired by different gangs to go and steal. I thought that they would help me so that my case can be made to disappear. But brother, when I was in prison, the transition from a gated community going to a prison, Westville, Sun City, it was like I was in hell. In the gated community, I had security guards to protect me. In jail, I had to protect my life every second of the day. The first week, it was terrible. I was a foreigner. Back in those years, there were not a lot of foreigners that were around, and this made me to become a target. The gangs, they no longer care about your white parties. They see a Zim guy and they can target you 24/7. I was forced to fight with men, some that were twice my size, so that I can just continue to live. I saw men beating each other over cigarettes. I even see the number gangs deciding who lives and who dies, and that is the law in prison. I was forced to fight people that I did not even hate, so that the big generals can be entertained. And the trauma of those fights, it was just too much. It stays with me to this very day. Unfortunately, I never received any form of counseling ever since I started to fight in prison. I never wanted to say anything because I was afraid that if I say something, maybe I could get killed or something bad would happen to me. I was finally released. It was in the year 2023, after so many years. When I walked out, the funny thing that happened to me, they did me dirty. Home Affairs did me dirty. I was released into the public, walking from the correctional gate. I can say that I walked only 100 meters. Maybe if I had a relative that came to collect me, maybe with a car, I was not going to be arrested by the Home Affairs. They waited for me as I was walking. That was when I saw a van. It was actually an unmarked van, and then they approached me and they asked my name and they started to talk with me. They asked for my ID number, and then I was arrested by Home Affairs. I was then taken to another facility, later on moved from Durban, came to Joburg. I stayed at Lindela. It was very terrible, my brother. After spending so many years, 21 years in prison, and then you are back in prison again. I was even crying when they were transporting us from Durban, and then that was when I was deported. I want to say this to my fellow Zimbabweans, any foreigner in Mzansi: do not disrespect the laws of the country that is putting food on your table. I thought that I was something that was much bigger because of the gang that I was working for. It is a big gang in Durban. But brother, I ended up in prison for a very long time. I used to host parties. We would break bottles of champagne that costed even up to 30k a bottle. Now that I'm back in Zim, because I do not have any family support, because I stayed in South Africa for many, many years. Some of the streets, when I returned back, they had changed their names and I could not even recognize the town in which I was born in. I even struggled to buy a loaf of bread. I just am struggling. I am trying to do farming, but things are so bad, my brother. It is just that our neighbors, they recently connected their own Starlink. I am even thinking of opening my own podcast. If I do so, I will tell you. This is my advice to the young South Africans. You have a beautiful country. You have opportunities that we in Zim will die for. Do not throw it away because of a criminal history. Once you get arrested, know that you are going to be labeled a criminal on your CVs. That's why most of you can't get a job. Do not be inspired by gangsters. Crime is like a trap that will eat at you. When you want a job, you can't get the job that you want. It is better that you live and you work. Even if someone fights you, walk away. You do not want a criminal record. I am traumatized if I see people fighting, because I saw people fighting to the death. I get traumatized. Do you know what my name used to be? I used to be called TNT. Do you know what TNT is? Blowing things up. Like I told you that my father was an illegal miner. So he knew all the different things that you can use to blow stuff up. So they liked me in the gang because I knew how to blow those trucks up. I even taught them how to blow a truck up with maximum damage so that you can just collect the money. That is why the gangs loved me a lot. I used to be called TNT. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by Brother TNT. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. Let us speak with our brother in the comment section. I'll be back with another episode.